Hello everyone and welcome back to One Autistic Person. So this is the fourth video in my planned 50 video series around the questions in the Autism Quotient. And this is the fourth question, which is: I frequently get so strongly absorbed in one thing that I lose sight of other things. So that's: I frequently get so strongly absorbed in one thing that I lose sight of other things. Now, like with all the other videos, the plan with this is to try and change how that looks like a deficit into a benefit, into a positive situation. So first of all, I said definitely agree to this. So I become very tunnel visioned, tunnel hearing, very, very monotropic. So if you've not heard of monotropism, it's an autistic theory of personality types and traits, and it's all about how you can focus on one thing. So the mono bit of it would be to say that you're mono-focused on one thing, which means that you are much more highly likely to spend a lot of time doing something in a very, very focused way, but struggle to do anything outside of that, either during or quite often after as well. For me, I have to I kind of often, especially when it's a big task, even if it's something I enjoy doing, I have to prep myself for doing so. So I actually become absorbed before I actually go into this. So one of the things that I don't really feel like, I feel like there's huge positives from this, there are huge positives from this because the output of this is great, as in quite often I will become so absorbed with something that I'll be so focused on it that it will be done in a much quicker time and to a high standard, even though it was a quicker time. But that said, I think the negatives, there are quite a few negatives when it comes to this, because being interrupted is a bit of a problem, which we've kind of touched on another video. But being interrupted makes it so it's very difficult to get back into it, and it's very difficult to sort of multitask in any way, shape or form in this. So like I said before, I become very tunnel visioned and tunnel hearing. I don't hear anything or see anything until something makes a noise that makes me realise that I haven't been paying attention to anything in the world apart from the one thing that I was doing, whether that's scrolling through and researching something, or it's doing work for work, something for myself, or if it was to playing a computer game or something like that. So if I was playing The Sims, I can quite easily go like 10 hours playing it, and then suddenly something will make a noise and I'll realise that I've been playing The Sims for 10 hours. This can, but like I say, it can lead to a lot of productivity, but I would also say that it's dangerous in some respects because of the fact that it can also lead to burnout, because you're not realising that you're getting burnt out because you're so hyper-focused on doing that one thing. So for me, the positives, like I say, is the outcome. So you will get really good outcomes from this, but I think it's a matter of maybe putting something in place to jolt you out of it after a certain period of time. So for me, I try to look at doing things in sort of 2 to 3 hour chunks, and then after that try to come out of it so that at least I drink some water, that I go to the toilet if I need to, that I realise that there's other things going on around me at those points. It is jarring, I must admit, but you've set that up yourself, so it's a little bit easier to deal with than if maybe somebody else jars you out of that situation. I do get annoyed with alarms quite often that I put on for myself, and get quite angsty about the fact that they've gone off, but I'm much better with that than somebody interrupting me. So probably better to put some kind of note to yourself, whether that is doing it on your Alexa and putting an alarm on there, or having something pop up on your computer screen. So if it's not necessarily a noise, because that's something that's noise generally is more jarring to me than something popping up and showing me something. Although I do use Alexa and she makes a noise, I kind of want to jar myself out of it to an extent, just to make sure that I'm not going over what my capacity is at that point. And I think sometimes it allows you to look at your capacity and where you are at that point, because if you're feeling that you've got to that 2 hour, 3 hour mark, whatever it is that you've set for yourself, it might be that you want to do it at 5 hour chunks, whatever it is that you want to do. that you might have actually not realised that you really did need a break. You needed something to eat, you needed to drink something, and you're not necessarily going to realise that if you don't take yourself out of it. You're then going to take some time to get back into it. Like I said at the beginning, for me, it takes some time for me to get into the process of doing something, and I have to kind of decompress from after doing it as well. So if I do 3 hours, let's say, there's probably going to be half an hour each side at least of me prepping myself for the fact I'm going to have to do something and have to put my brain into action to go through that executive functioning side of things, and then I have to sort of have some me time afterwards. So you're looking at that 3 hours becoming 4, or potentially even 5, depending on how big the thing is, how focused that thing has been. So the benefit is the output. We are able to put huge amounts of output to it, but this one I believe does come with a lot of negatives, more than any so far, is that we don't realise we're burning out. We might not be taking care of our needs. We might be jolted out of that situation earlier than we want to be, and then not be as productive, and then kind of kick ourselves over it. So there's a lot less. It's also, the whole thing I think with this is to be kind to yourself at the same time as allowing yourself the time to be monotropic, to allow yourself to be totally absorbed in that thing that you're doing, but understanding the fact you do need breaks, and that's the kind of sentience you need before to go, I am going to need breaks through this, otherwise I'm going to feel like absolute rubbish afterwards. So because especially if you're like me and you need to do the decompressing side of it afterwards, it could be that before you're ready to do anything, it could take you a really long time to be able to get to that point. So it's allowing yourself to break those tasks up. I know that's a difficult thing in a work scenario, but I'll come back to what I've said in a lot of these videos when we've talked about work, and that has been that you need to really communicate that with the people that you work with your colleagues, and that your working hours, especially if you're able to work from home or your office hours are flexible, then maybe talk about having a bit of a longer break between, where you're going to have to jar yourself out and have a longer break to get yourself ready again to go back into work. So maybe have a 2 hour break, a 2 hour lunch break, or whatever, that's allowing you to do that, and also asking to be left alone during that time that you're having to do this. If this is something where it's that you know you're going to need to be monotropic, you're going to need to focus on it, then I would say that is definitely what you should probably do. Have that conversation with the people around you. From a things I like to do perspective, I don't set those alarms for myself. I'm now thinking, even during doing this video, I'm thinking I should probably do that, because again, I'm not taking care of my needs necessarily. I'm not hydrating, I'm not eating, I'm not necessarily going to the toilet until I realise, like I say, 10 hours into playing the Sims, that suddenly I realise I'm playing it because a noise happened somewhere, my cat meowed or whatever it was that pulled me out of it. And then not realising that I'm realising I need to go to the toilet, and that usually then tells me, if I've gone to the toilet, it tells me I need to hydrate, which then I'll have a drink, but then that leads on to food and stuff like that. Whereas maybe if I jarred myself out of it, but I know I'm going to really struggle with that, because I want to be completely immersed into that. I mean, I think the longest I've gone playing The Sims without having any kind of break whatsoever was about 15 hours, I believe. So when it's something that's a special interest, I think it's even more that you get so monotropic that you don't even hear your body. So when I said about your tunnel vision and your tunnel hearing, I think when you're completely in something as a special interest side of things, then I think that you potentially, the whole of your body switched off to your brain. Your brain is focused on what you're doing, and that's it, or it is for me anyway. So that one was a bit of a different one, because it wasn't all positive. There were some negatives that are coming from it. I hope that that's given you some of the ideas of what I use to maybe pull myself out of it. Like I say, it is jarring, it's never pleasant, it always feels uncomfortable, but I feel that that's necessary for me to reassess the situation. But I do feel like I am so productive when I am in that absorbed space that there is a positive to it. But yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. This one's been a bit different than the other ones, and I would love it if you would comment, subscribe, share. Like I've said in all of the videos, if you can comment, that's perfect, because then it can create a community, and that's all I really want to do here. Okay, so thank you very much, and I'll speak to you on the next one. Bye.